Welcome to another video with OC. Today we're going to be explaining how to do loadouts. So, goofy intros aside, we're going to talk about how I come up with loadouts, what my thought process is behind loadouts. I'm currently nature, but I do switch powers quite a bit. So I approach loadouts pretty much from the same vantage point, no matter what power I am. I don't care so much as what the most OP power is, as much as do I like playing it, how smooth does it go, as well as does it hit good and do damage, and how fast it is. Can it clip? Clipping is a lost art in this game. All your top DPSs you will see are always clipping. Whoever you want to talk about, Hesse, LV, whatever. Super Clip, all those guys, I guarantee you, they're clipping their asses off. So, clipping is important when it comes to damage, especially if you're going to run Omega. So, if you're running Omega, you need to get 10 powers up, turn it gold for it to do damage. So, clipping is pretty important. And with 2 trays, you can clip more than ever, which is awesome. Love it. So, how I come up with loadouts. First and foremost, you're going to do a lot of testing. One power to the next. How much power or how much damage does this power do versus how much damage does the next power do? And how does that all play into your artifacts and your allies? You want to basically have your allies and your artifacts kind of feng shui into each other, as well as your powers. Do they all play off of each other? Do you have a common theme there? Some powers, like nature, don't really have any burst damage. Nature doesn't have burst damage. The few burst damage moves it does have split damage really, really bad. So if we go into here, you got Impaling Thorns and Gorilla mode. Yep, it'll hit everything. It also splits terribly. You've got things like Thorn Burst if you're going to do a melee loadout. Yep, does burst damage, splits horribly, doesn't really hit that hard, especially compared to all this stuff down here. So as you can see, I got things like Sonic Cry, Thorn Burst, Savage Growth. You can run a straight nature melee loadout, and it'll hit a little harder. Put your dots up, and then go straight melee. But the problem with nature is even this burst is bad, and it splits. So, which splitting means the more targets it hits, the less damage it does to each target. If you look at all these iconics down here, they don't split. This splits. That's an iconic, but that's a traditional game iconic. All the new iconics, Soul Signature, doesn't split. Omega Beams, doesn't split. Bat Swarm's different, but it causes lots of damage. Spore Pod, doesn't split. Starbolt, when you do the combo and it hits everything, doesn't split, doesn't split, doesn't split. You guys getting the gist here? This doesn't split, this doesn't split. All these new damage, this doesn't split. All these new iconics, the secret sauce to them is just the fact that they don't split like normal powers do. Water, with its revamp, that's why it's doing so much damage. It no longer splits anything. Everything it's doing is hitting the same, all the targets for the same damage on all the powers now. So that's why water has this huge advantage over all other powers. Eventually, they'll probably catch all the powers up to do this, and I think it'll probably be in short order because some powers aren't really broke. They just split damage still. And all the powers split damage, but none split damage as bad as nature. So, how do we get around that? Well, how we get around that as nature is we don't run a lot of nature powers. You can. You're going to do way less damage, and you're going to just barely get your damage up, or sometimes not at all. and everything's going to be dead because everybody else is using burst damage. Especially since it seems like 75% of DPSs are all running water now because it's easy and it causes lots of damage. For us other people that run nature and sorcery and everything else, we've got to think a little more outside the box and be a little more inventive to keep up with the waters and the rages of the world. So, how do we do it with nature? I can tell you. But this is also going to apply across the board. You just kind of have to think your way through your loadout. And in nature's case, I'm still utilizing a dot loadout. So this is going to cause guaranteed crit damage up to 8 targets. So that's good. And it's also going to increase your critical magnitude and critical chance. So this is boosting everything else you're running. Serpent's Call puts out poisons, and it puts out poisons to everything. And the reason you want to run Serpent's Call versus like Briar or Vine Lash is because Serpent's Call gives damage over time to up to 8 targets immediately, whereas Briar will hit 8 targets for really crappy burst damage, but it only does a DOT to 1 target until you spread it with Harvest. So that makes it a liability. Vine Lash, same thing, even worse. It does damage over time to a single target, but doesn't spread. It doesn't go to other targets until you hit Harvest and spread it to other targets. So, again, the name of the role is damage per second, DPS. So when you run this and you run this, you're already losing time. And time is valuable when it comes to DPS. Why do you think you see DPSs running forward in the hallways and trying to position themselves? We'll get into position later. Position themselves to run to the next set of ads. They're doing that because time is money. Every second counts. If I can put up 100 million, my best parse I've ever done is 111 million damage in 10 seconds. If I can do that, that's basically putting up 1.1 million damage per second. So think about that. Think about how fast that's going. If I'm putting up 111 million damage on 5 targets in a 10-second span with just my own buffs and not a troll buff and tank buff and all the other buffs, John Constantine buffs that you get, just think of how fast they're going to melt away, and you see it in raids all the time. Everything's melting immediately. So how we get past that with nature in particular is I run Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy is OP, but she's only OP for nature. So she is going to give you empowering spores up to 20 stacks, and each stack can give you 2% might. So you read that correctly. That's 40% might that I can boost my might just by running her. Now, it takes a little time to get going. Another reason I'm going to run Serpent's Call, because there's only a 20% chance to grant you a stack of Empowered Bloom, which means I need to have poisons hitting as much as possible, as early as possible. Serpent's Call. Would Briar provide a little more damage right at the beginning because it's hitting all the targets for, what they say is burst damage, but it's really terrible burst damage? Yeah, that first second it's hitting harder than Serpent's Call. But Serpent's Call is going to continue to hit all those targets and give you that 20-second chance more often faster. And it's a supercharge generator, which means you're going to be able to hit more sunstones or whatever supercharge you choose to run. And then I'm running Starfire. When you hit a weapon buff, grants you another 8%. So again, you read that correctly. Between these two, I can boost my might 48%. So there's the start, right? Now, let's throw in Ebons, and again, we're stacking Shady Loans. So we're stacking more might. So you can increase your might by 3% for 6 seconds, right? Up to 10. So that's another 30% might. That's kind of crazy if you think about it. So I just got another 30% might. Then I'm running Book, or pages. I call it book. But pages, again, you're going to get might per stack 4.5%. So again, you're boosting one might precision or might buff after another might buff after another might buff, and they're all working off each other. So what ends up happening is now my 878 is actually 823. I've got a cola and an omega on right now. I think I still got both. 878 should be both still. Let's look. So if you're ever wondering, go down to your current effects and that'll show you. Yeah, so you can see I still got these buffs on because I just ran a raid or ran an alert. But what that's doing, all that stuff together is going to boost my might from this 878 to about 1.6 million, 1.7 million. I would say probably between 1.5 and 1.7, depending where you're at with E-bonds, depending where you're at with Poison Ivy, how many stacks you have up at a time. And then remember, when you hit your finisher, i.e. Omega, it's going to expend all your stacks on E-bond, and then it starts over. The only one that's consistent in this loadout is Starfire. So your might's going to fluctuate, but it's still going to be sky high, at least with nature. Now, you can still do this might stacking philosophy on any power. You just can't do it with Poison Ivy. If you wanted to do it still and didn't have Poison Ivy, you could go Superboy. So Superboy is going to give you 5% might if you change if he's fully stacked out. By changing your health 3 times. Well, think about it. You're running pages. So running pages is going to change your health 3 times pretty quick. So you're going to get your 5 stacks really, really fast with Superboy. The only reason I don't run him is because I'm running Starfire to get the extra 3%. You just have to remember to hit your weapon buff as quickly as it comes up. As soon as it comes up, you want that thing active again so that might buff never goes down. So that's first and foremost. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what I'm thinking when it comes to artifacts and allies. Now, if you wanted to go with more of the meta, like if you're water and you've got a supercharge that doesn't split damage, hey, go for it. Then you can go more the route of having your Scrap of the Soul Cloak and your Eye of the Gemini. You can do that. I choose not to. I think I get enough supercharges just with my 2 supercharge generators and this one, supercharge generator, right? And Serpent Call, supercharge generator. So, and then I've got the head mod in, which also gives you 15%. So, I mean, between that and just charging and waiting for the cooldown on these, and as you can see, I also run Neo Venom Boost because I'm going to boost Sunstone with Neo Venom Boost. My whole loadout's based off of boosting things up, right? You want to boost things up as high as possible. And you can run either Mr. Freeze or Superboy, do good melee damage in hallways, or you can run something more single target like Crypto on single target. I don't really switch back and forth between single target and AoE. If I've got something that's strictly single target, I'll just quickly go in and throw in some single target moves like Luminous Beam is amazing for single target. So I'll just start replacing some things with single target. I might even take out one of my heal powers and put a single target move in there. So we talk about clipping, and you're going to see that if I want to get to Omega as fast as possible, I need to do 10 powers, right? It doesn't really get its full potential till you get 10 powers. So by clipping these 3, there's 3 of my 10 right there, right? There's 5 of my 10, and then you can, another 3 right here. There's another clip. There's another 2. Clip. And now I'm at my 10. Just that quick, just that easy. I can usually have Omega back up before the cooldown is done, or right as the cooldown's getting done, or just after the cooldown's getting done. The fact is, Omega is still outside of water, the top hitting power in the game. And part of the reason that is, does this hit harder than Omega? By a lot. By a lot, a lot. But it's one hit. That's the difference. One hit versus Omega's, I think it's 12 hits? I don't know. I haven't counted it in a while. But against Omega's a bunch of really quick hitting hits, it's really no contest. So I hit this once and I gotta wait for its cooldown before I get that burst again. Does this hit harder than Omega? 100% it hits better, harder than Omega. It's also way slower than Omega, and it has cooldown. So I'm getting 663 out of that. Yeah, I'm only getting 3 something, 4 something out of Omega. So even though it's hitting much faster, this is hitting twice as hard. So it's almost like having a second. So the thing to keep in mind when you're DPSing is what is causing the most damage per second. What is causing the most damage per second? So it's not just about what hits the hardest. Sometimes it's about what hits the fastest, right? So, or what benefits do you get out of it hitting? So if you take Soul Signature here, doesn't hit the hardest. Not bad. 304, it's always going to crit, but it's also going to boost your critical attack magnitude by 15%. That's a big deal. When you crit and it's an extra 15%, it's a lot of extra damage. So to me, it's worth it. If I'm going to equip Candle, then I'm going to run the power as well. I see some people that run Candle, but they don't actually run the power. They just get the critical chance out of it. Well, that seems kind of pointless to me. Not pointless, but if I can get 15% crit chance and damage, why would I not take both? So, of course I take both. So I'm going to fit this in my loadout, and all I do is flip it. Right? So it's already there. It's already being clipped. Flip. You go through your loadout as quick as possible. It's all about getting back to Omega, which is going to hit everything for the equal amount. Here's something else to keep in mind about Omega. Omega hits everything. So if you got a tank that groups 20 adds together, it's hitting all 20 and it's not splitting. So it's one of the rare powers that hits unlimited amount of adds, whereas I believe even these only hit so many. I'm actually not sure how many that hits. But most of your powers are only going to hit 8 to 12 targets. And then most of them really 8. And then once it hits that 8, that's all you get. Omega hits everything. That's another reason why Omega is still king. Outside of water. I don't want to piss the water people off because, water is basically hitting everything. Water is completely broken. Um, and I'm okay with things being broken. They just need to up the health on everything and bring the other powers in line so everybody else can be competitive. Until that happens, then you gotta, really think your loadouts through like I do. And like a lot of people does. If you look at all your top DPSs, I may have mentioned this already, your LVs, your Hessies, your Super Clips, everybody that makes their videos about doing uber damage, they're doing uber clipping as well. They're looking for how they can get through rotations faster. They're always looking for damage per second. They're always looking how they can progress through the hallways faster. So while they may be a lot of selfish players, not all of them, some of them, you'll see them still do pickups and stuff. And in my opinion, you're not much of a DPS if you're so worried about damage that you won't pick up your fellow teammate and you'll fail the raid just so you could do more damage than somebody else. That's just weak, and that's that's insecurity in my opinion. You're afraid that somebody might beat you in DPS. Who cares? If I can do a lot of DPS and do 20 pickups, then I'm going to do a lot of DPS and do 20 pickups and do whatever I can to get through the raid. but that's a healer's mentality, I guess, not a strictly DPS mentality. Um, 90% of the time, I am battle healing. I don't DPS a whole bunch anymore. That's why my healer is actually max CR, not my DPS. Working on the DPS part right now to make him max, but right now my healer, old Scooby-Doo vampire here, is max CR. Um, I don't really have anything I can do to boost him up anymore. He's got basically everything he needs. And as you'll see here, I also don't run the typical loadout for that. Again, if you're secure in how much damage you can do, you shouldn't have to rely on a healer to constantly feed you greens. I can do it. I actually have a loadout called 10K, as you can see right there. I can do it. If somebody was to ask me, hey, can you 10K heal um, so we can do a DPS comp? Sure, no problem. I'll 10K heal so you guys can see who's the better DPS. No problem. But my preferred way of playing is battle healing. And that's what I do. So I only have one loadout for DPS, and this is pretty much it. So I put my healing loadouts kind of together the same way. What can clip fast? How fast can I get powers up? So yes, my loadouts are super power heavy because I am not cheaping out on power. Um, as you can see, I've got some heavy hitting powers in here. 450 power cost, 300 power cost, and a 300 power cost that really isn't doing damage. But I use them to clip, which means I'm going to go through a lot of power. And that's okay. If I run out of power, that's on me. I know there's bad trolls in this game that do not give power, and I have ways to get around that. I have colas, I have supply drops. I don't strictly drop my supply drop usually, just to do more damage unless I know I've got a good troll. And I know I got a bad troll, I'm not using my supply drop until I need it, because I guarantee you I'll need it. If I have to, I can always sacrifice my Neo Venom boost and throw Surging Barrier in there, and boom, I can replenish my power, give myself a shield, and then when I do combos, give the group healing as well. Because I'm always thinking about that too. That's why I have multiple healing powers in my loadout. If I can do a lot of damage with them, i.e., Empowering Pulse, i.e., Hope Wave, if I can do a lot of damage with them and pump out some heals to the group, sweet. So a lot of times you will see me DPS and do a third to a half of the healing that the main healer does just from running these 4 powers because I'm spamming them. I've always got 2 pheromones up. I'm always doing burst heals with flourish. Don't be afraid to use moves that aren't really DPS moves just to be able to clip and get through your rotation faster and get to your Omega faster. Mega, for the vast majority of us, is still going to be the hardest hitting power in the game. And it's still meta. It's still meta for anybody not named Water. So if you are not Water, you should have Omega, and you should be worried about getting through your rotation as quickly as possible. And you should be worried about boosting as much as possible. Second that trinket comes off cooldown, hit that trinket. Some people wait for supercharges. I don't like waiting. Waiting means that it takes that much longer to come off cooldown to be able to use it again. If I know a big boss is coming up and I've got double supercharges, then I might wait a little bit. But for the most part, I'm hitting my trinkets, I'm hitting my supply drops if I have a good troll. I'm hitting my stuff as early as possible so I can rotate through it as many times as possible, including, including your orbital. So a lot of people save that for bosses. It does more damage on bosses, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's going to do a little more damage on bosses. But I'm also going to hit it at least 1 or 2 more times than most people because I'm not saving it. So I'm just hitting it as much as possible and then clipping it. You know, clipping is awesome. You call out those guys, you clip it. You call out him, clip it. You should never be stuck in those animations. Save a power for clipping your trinkets and your allies and anything else. Or clip it right in to your trinket. It's always about doing as many powers with as little animations as possible. This is the philosophy of old hard light. Way back in the day, when old hard light, you were clipping in weapon attacks with every combo, and you were clipping combos with combos with combos. I mean, you played extremely fast. I'm surprised I don't need hand surgery from back then. It's still the same mentality. Clip as fast as possible, get through your rotation as fast as possible. So if we come down, you'll see, but get through that rotation as fast as possible. Now, another thing we need to talk about as well is um, positioning. So I'm going to talk about positioning a little bit here after I show you guys. So as you can see, I'm just kind of rotating through it. I'm always going to prioritize my harder hitting powers like Empowering Pulse and um, Omega over other things, and that power. So I'm not as worried about these powers. Those are good background powers. So this is where all your burst is. You get a little burst out of those powers. They're great for providing background damage while you're doing your other combos. That's why it's good to have those up. Look at all that damage coming out while I'm doing this combo. That's why they're good. That's why it's good. And it helps you get through to get you your next Omega as well. See how quickly I'm getting to my Omegas? See how I'm clipping that last animation of Hope Wave? See how you got all three there? You don't have to do all three. Clip it. Always clip it. You'll see me clip Hope Wave into Omega Beams a lot. See that? So I went from that last animation of Hope Wave into Serpent's Call into Carnage. I think it's Carnage. Yeah, Carnage. All in that 1 second. So I'm basically clipping this last animation with that. Now, if I had it available, I could also do that. Right? Or you can save it and go like that. You Empowering Pulse into that heal move. But the point I'm making is always clip. Always get your clipping down. See how I went into Omega Beam while Hope Wave was still going out? That's the little things that get you much more damage. And if you're wondering why some of these guys are just, you're the same power, you're running the same loadout, why are they getting so much more damage than me? They're probably doing little tricks like clipping things. I know LV, for one, talks about clipping a lot, to his credit. He's kind of giving you guys, as he calls it, that secret sauce of, clip, 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 and always clip. And clip some more. So that's kind of the thought process. And then as far as just like, how do I know if it's doing a good job? Bring up your combat parser and just compare. Am I getting, a decent amount of damage? If you go up there, you'll see 59, 56, 58. That's a lot of damage right there. That's 59 million damage, 56 million damage, 58 million damage in 10-second increments. And I didn't use any trinkets. I didn't use any of my pets or the ally or a supercharge or none of that. I didn't use any of that. That's just straight loadout and buffing my might, which I will show you guys now. So we go here, we go here. So all I'm doing is allowing that might to kind of build up right now. And we'll go through this loadout a couple times, get the might back up. So you can see I got up into the 60s, actually, not that great. You can see my might's coming back down, but it was up in the 1.2, 1.3 million range. It all depends, As you can see, I'm below 50%, so I lost my book. Let's go back down. Let's go back in and see where my might's at. 4.9, 1.5. As you can see, I'm running 1.5 million might, no trinket. That's just me buffing my, stacking my might, which means everything I'm doing is hitting way harder, basically twice as hard as most people are getting. Most people aren't getting that kind of might. The only reason I'm getting that kind of might is because I'm stacking every bit of might I can muster out of this loadout. And that's why I'm getting arses in the 50s and 60s. And this is just with me buffing my own might. This is not with a troll or a tank helping you buff. This is with no John Constantines under you. This is just you boosting your own might. So imagine how much harder this is going to hit in a raid where they have debuffs on them and you're getting your might buffed by the troll. You're going to be hitting incredibly hard. This Empowering Pulse, I've seen it hit for 2.5 million in a raid when I'm getting properly buffed by a troll. And I've got some John Constantines on. And this isn't even all that reliable because I'm throwing ads all over the place. In a raid, you're going to have a tank group in them together, hopefully. You got a decent tank. So, last but not least, we're going to talk about positioning, realizing where your powers are at, how they work, what they do. So, this Hope Wave, see, I'm hitting everything, right? Ooh, wow. It's everything. It's not splitting. Wow. Check that out, right? Now, let's get up super close. Am I hitting them all now? I'm hitting more than I thought I would. Let's come over here. See how I'm missing? It's because it has cone damage. Hope Wave has cone damage, which means the further out you are, the more it's going to spread and hit more targets. So when I'm out here, I have no problem hitting them all. If I'm in tight, or if I was in the league hall with 8 targets, I'm going to miss half of them. Yeah, I'm missing the one over on the right. So you can miss a lot of damage. When I do Empowering Pulse and knock them all over the place, see, I'm not hitting the 2 on the right now. That's the advantage of knowing your position and where to go. So if the tank comes running in here, he's going to turn them around and have them facing this way, which is this is where the next set of ads are. As a DPS, I'm going to run up, and I'm going to run right past them, right? And then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to start DPSing, getting ready to leave this set of ads. I'm going to come over to this set of ads over here. But what you'll see a lot of times is people will run up, stop back here. I don't know if they're afraid or whatever, but they'll start back here and do all their damage. Now, while those awesome DPS have already positioned themselves over here and are already running, you're trying to play catch up because you were way back here. Position plays a big role in DPS, and most people don't realizing it. Empowering Pulse, it has range. See, I only hit 2 because I'm on the outside skirts of its range. Now, if I just move in a little bit closer, now I hit them all. Knock them all back. Do damage to them all. That's the difference between doing a little bit of damage and doing a lot of damage. But if I stop short and I come back here, I'm only hitting the 2. So it has about a 10-meter range, but that 10 meters is right on the edge. Kind of get it? So, whereas this, you can be up close, hit everything. This, if you're up super close, you might miss some of them. Right? So you have to be aware of your powers. So a lot of times you might see me hit them with a power and jump out so I can get in better range, depending on the power, right? This is going to hit everything. Here's another thing. You'll see people stop to hit Spore, but you have to stop. Whereas if you pick powers that you can run with, right, I can still continue to get myself into position as I hit them with that magma burst. So that also plays a role in decision making on whether I'm going to run something or not, is ease of use. So Hope Wave is another one. So if you're running up to a set of ads, why not be running with Hope Wave going? Right? Then you can hit these on the way out. There's another little positioning trick. If you've got yourself between two sets of ads, you're confident enough, and then you're running a shield, why not hit them, come back over to these, right? If you're quick enough, I can be doing damage to both. Hit them, hit them. Easy peasy. More ads, more damage. So, in closing, there's some ideas to give you. So when you're picking a loadout, how hard does it hit? How fast does it hit? How quickly can I get through the rotation? How do the animations line up with each other? Are the animations from one to another smooth? A lot of times that's a big difference. Is it smooth or not, right? Is it smooth or does it play clunky? See, I don't like rotations that play clunky. Even Sunstone's a bit clunky because you have to kind of stop and jump in, hit it, kind of jump back out, right? Depending on the count. Some you can jump in there and you can just stay in there. Some you got to jump in, get your damage off, and get the hell out before you get smacked. Right? So, how hard does it hit? How quickly does it hit? What kind of position challenges does it bring? As you can see, my loadout is mostly range, but I do have this in. That's got about 10 meters. And that's the very edge. If I really want to hit everything, I need to get about 5 meters away. If I can get about 5 meters away, which is about the inside edge here, then I can hit them. But you're still playing danger close there. You're still pretty close to a boss there. So you got to determine whether you're comfortable with that or not. And again, why I love these powers, why I love running heals, because I'm now not reliant on a healer to heal me alone and react to my reckless gameplay. I'm kind of supporting myself there. Um, so, in closing, and I know I keep saying that, I'm long-winded, what can I say? In closing, you need to pick powers that go fast, you need to pick powers that hit hard, you need to pick powers that suit your gameplay style. If you don't like getting in close, then don't run Empowering Pulse. It's a waste of your time if you don't want to be in close. Um, if you want to run it just as strictly as a heal, and and another thing about Empowering Pulse is if you got ads here and you got ads behind you, it's going to hit them both, right? So it's going to hit the ads behind you, so that's extra damage. That's another reason to run it. It also knocks ads away from you. So if a tank is struggling to pick up ads, boom, you knock them away and get them the hell away from you. Sometimes I'll even position myself to knock them into the tank, just because, hey tank, pick up this ad for me, instead of watching it beat my ass. Um, if you have any questions, leave a comment. I'll be more than happy to answer. If you want a one-on-one tutorial, just invite me to a group. If I'm not running something, I'm more than happy to help people come up with loadouts, come up with ideas, exchange ideas. I'm not saying I have all the best ideas. I come up with some decent ones. Sometimes I'll run something and think it's decent, and you get in a raid and it kind of sucks. So with that all being said, everybody enjoy the day. OZ is